Hello students. The purpose of this video is to take a quick look at the major project, which is the project that we are working toward. It's the last project of the semester. It's your big grade, but it's what we are doing. Every exercise, every reading reflection, everything we do is working towards this end of producing a significant and well-written major project report. So let's kind of go through the overview of the assignment so that as you work, you'll know what kinds of things you need to be doing. Okay, from the top of the page, you can see that the format for this is a research paper and it is to be done in APA format. There will be more videos and more help on this later, but don't get confused by that. I am looking for an APA formatted paper. So there will be some strict rules about indentions and parts of the paper that we will adhere to pretty strictly, but that will come along later. So just don't worry about that right now. The next thing is the length, 1,500 words. And you can see I have greater than 1,500 words. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not typically a word counter. What happens is when I read a paper and I feel like it is short, incomplete, full of gaps, that kind of feeling I get from it, then I will go back and count words. I want to know why, what happened. Why couldn't the student complete this or completely cover this in the 1,500? And often I'll find out that there's only 1,000 or only 1,200 words there. So I don't want a 10,000 word paper from you. That's too much. That's too big for the assignment. It's too big for the project. But I do want something 1,500 words in that neighborhood, and I'm looking for probably more towards the neighborhood of 2,000 words. Okay, the points for this assignment, it is significant, 250 points. And again, it's because as we do the homework assignments along the way, or all the different kinds of assignments, those are all working together to contribute to this. And so this major project is a reflection of all the things you learn along the way from the other assignments. Okay, the assignment, demonstrate your research and writing skills. Yep, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And you're going to be doing that using multi and interdisciplinary theories and concepts. So the paper will require you to perform extensive research into a query related to the course readings. The topic is entirely up to you. And I'm going to suggest you should choose the topic based on your major or based on your interest, based on where you think you are headed in the workplace. Those are the kinds of things, because if you choose something you are not interested in, I will see it in the paper. So choose something that has meaning to you, something that is significant to you, something that you will feel a part of the research. So the topic is entirely up to you, but it must represent data from 3 to 4 diverse disciplines. And what I mean by diverse is business and economics would not be diverse enough. Those are very closely related. Your objective, one more thing, the 3 to 4, don't go too many. If you give me 6 disciplines, you are going to have trouble representing those disciplines well in a single 1,500 word paper. If you go less than 3, if you just give me 1, well, it's not interdisciplinary. And if it's only 2, it's probably not complex enough. And remember, that is one of the requirements to make it interdisciplinary. So I'm looking for 3 or 4 diverse disciplines. Okay, your objective is to further develop your skills in writing across the disciplines by applying things learned in the textbook, especially the 10-step interdisciplinary research method. And you're going to apply this to a discussion or an argument or a question on a real-world issue. So imagine this paper is something you might show a potential employer to demonstrate your cross-disciplinary critical thinking and problem-solving skills. And finally, just so you know, you may have already had the IDS 493 class, but if you haven't, this could be a great paper to highlight in that class. So you're going to want to do well on this and then save the paper so that you can use it again later. Okay, let's go through the guidelines. A successful interdisciplinary research paper will contain the 1,500 words, and that does not include the cover page, the abstract, the references. All of those are required, but they are not included in the word count. This is the content of your paper. This starts at the introduction, ends at the conclusion, 1,500 words. Bullet 2, utilize at least 5 reputable sources from across the disciplines that do not largely represent a single discipline. So I'm looking for 5 works, and I'm not talking about website citations or citations from Wikipedia. Those are not reputable sources. You need to find journal articles and or books. You need to at least represent with one paper each of the disciplines that you have selected to be a part of your study. Bullet 3, allow only one of the reputable sources to be a website source. So yes, you can quote a website, but again, it needs to be reputable. Find something that is not a blog entry. That's not reputable. As we go along, be sure and check with me. I'll be happy to help you on that, but it still must be reputable even if you decide to use one as a website source. The next bullet, number 4, include discipline-specific sources of knowledge from major contributors to those fields. Okay, so we are going to focus on, let's say your project across is maybe it's a combination of, I don't know, history and music, something that is across those. And your third discipline may be psychology, because you're going to talk about how the impact of music has had on audience across history or across time, something like that. So we have 3 very different disciplines identified, and you want to make sure that you are using discipline-specific sources of knowledge, and that these are from recognizable or major contributors, not from abstract, not student papers, not those kinds of things, but something that is a peer-reviewed article. Those are great sources of knowledge. You want to select to be argumentative or informative. So argumentative does not mean what it sounds like. It doesn't mean that you're trying to disagree with somebody. Argumentative in this case is you are going to provide an argument. You're going to provide a point of view and then argue the points that demonstrate your knowledge and support your assertion. So argumentation here is that method that we use to convince people of something. When we are trying to persuade somebody, we use our best argumentative techniques. That's the kind of argumentation I'm looking for. Or your paper may simply be informative. Now, most often, your research paper is trying to persuade somebody to your point of view, which is informative, or to take action, which is argumentative. You can decide what that is. And it can cover both. The next bullet point says that you're to address an audience that include those that are interested in your topic, but not experts in that. So they may be unaware of the many interdisciplinary lenses that could be used to approach the topic. So when you're addressing this, think of me, for instance, especially if you're doing something in, cybercrime or something along that. That's not my major. That's not my area of expertise. So you're going to have to think a bit about how I would read your paper and have takeaways from it, as opposed to somebody who is a director of the program at your university. So think of your audience in a bit of a different light, because you need to think of your audience as those who are interested but not experts in what you are presenting. And then finally, the last bullet, you are going to use APA formatting style. There will be a lot more on that. Bits and pieces will come at you. This is a hyperlink that will take you to the kind of king of all research references in that area, which is Purdue. The website that they put out is the Online Writing Laboratory, or OWL, and so owl.purdue.edu will get you there, and you want to be sure to go to the APA section. Next, suggestions. So I've put an image in here. The image at the right visualizes how your interdisciplinary research might be integrated into your paragraphs. So if you look on the right, you can kind of barely see it, but you see how the cherries and bananas and oranges are dispersed through the paper. You don't have the first paragraph that is bananas, the next paragraph that is cherries, and the next paragraph that is oranges. That would be multidisciplinary. That would be covering a single discipline and then moving on to another discipline. I need to see that you can use these materials, use your statements, use these disciplines to put together an argument or an information providing paper by integrating the different disciplines into each of the paragraphs. So back to the writing, it says each fruit in the image, banana, cherry, orange, represents a different discipline. As much as possible, you should have the various fruits represented in each paragraph, not whole paragraphs dedicated to just one fruit. For example, your topic might be Bitcoin, and you'd like to explore it from the following three disciplines: economics, history, and technology. Your audience is someone potentially interested in investing in Bitcoin, so what do you want them to know? As you organize the paper, be careful to do so logically, not necessarily according to the discipline. Your goal is to weave them together, to be truly interdisciplinary. Okay, now how to use the writing workshops. We've only got one behind us and then one that is due this week, but I'll show them to you anyway. The workshops are designed to help you build towards this paper. Workshop 1 asked you to create that 10-step research process visual presentation, helped you brainstorm a topic and create the checklist. Workshop 2, which is this week, has you drafting a table that puts your sources together and their disciplinary perspectives identified, and that helps you to organize your research concepts and to clarify thinking on the topic. Workshop 3 that's coming up in a few weeks will ask you to locate your disciplinary insights and organize them into a table, and that is where you're going to put some quotes and paraphrasing that you are starting to work on. And Workshop 4 has you create another visual model that communicates the theory or the grounds that you're working on when we get to that topic of common ground. So this will help you narrow down your central argument so that you are focused on a single thesis. And then the grading rubric. I'm going to show this to you. It's a bunch of 10-point things, but a lot of them interact with each other, and some of them, when you do one thing on your paper, you're going to get points in several areas for it on your grading rubric. There's a few I wanted to point out, and that I'm going to jump down to the end where it says ID research process related. I'm just letting you know that I might ask for some of this ahead of time. And so I am thinking of having you tell me what it is that your problem is, what your disciplines are, and how you are justifying your ID approach. And if you can do that, then I may ask for it in another week or two, and I'll grant you the credit here. So that would just be 20 points, and maybe a little bit up here in your developing a position towards an interdisciplinary concern, so maybe a few points here, but like that would be, so 30 points you may turn in early, 30 of the 250 in order to do that. And then as we move on a little bit more, I may want to see your literature review that I can help you. You're going to need some feedback from me. So by giving me that, that's another 10 points here. It may be another few points up here whenever it talks about using proper formatting, that kind of thing. So I just wanted you to know that the final research paper is due at the end, but the pieces that contribute to it I may ask for along the way, and it's not so that I can see it, but so that you can have some feedback before you have to do your final submission. So that's kind of an overview of the paper, how it's going to work, and I'm hoping that this will give you some idea of every time you get an exercise of how that contributes. At this point in the semester, you should know what your topic is, you should know what your disciplines are, and you should be ready to start your literature review this week and work on it significantly this week based on those selections. So by next week, we are solidly into the major project as a group, and so you have to have those pretty much settled on by the end of next week. Okay, thank you very much and best of luck.